President Trump has done, one thing, that's the only credit I'm going to give this guy, is he's united the country. He's united the country no matter what political stripe you're from. We're all Canadians, we're all Ontarians, and we're going to fight like no tomorrow.
In that moment, Ford wasn't just talking to Windsor. He was talking to every Canadian, and perhaps directly to Trump himself. On August 1st, U.S. President Donald Trump announced a 35% tariff on Canadian goods, a move as abrupt as it was sweeping. Framed in Washington as part of an America First trade offensive, the White House claimed it was about protecting U.S. jobs, countering unfair foreign competition, and reinforcing national security. But in Canada, it landed like a thunderclap. For many, this wasn't just policy. It was a deliberate strike at a close trading partner. The tariffs cut deep, reaching far beyond steel and aluminum. They hit the beating heart of Ontario's economy, the auto sector, advanced manufacturing, and export industries that sustain hundreds of thousands of families. For Windsor, Canada's automotive capital, the threat was immediate and personal. Assembly plants, feeder companies, and the intricate cross-border supply chains that had taken decades to build were suddenly in jeopardy. What had been a seamless economic artery between Ontario and U.S. states now faced the risk of clots and blockages. In one stroke, Trump's tariffs tested not only Canada's economy, but the resilience of its political leadership, forcing a choice between rolling over or fighting back with every tool available. Doug Ford could have played it safe. For years, critics accused him of walking a careful diplomatic line with Washington, never stepping too far, never burning bridges, even with Donald Trump. His approach had been one of cautious balance, defending Ontario's interests while avoiding direct confrontation. But in Windsor, that balancing act came to an abrupt end. Under the bright lights of the press conference, Ford threw out the cautious script and called Trump's tariffs what they were: a direct assault on Canada's economy. He declared Ontario would fight back, not with words alone, but with action. His plan? Make Ontario the most competitive jurisdiction in the entire G7, outpacing U.S. states, attracting global investment, and protecting Canadian workers no matter the cost. Ford didn't speak in vague promises. He had receipts. In 2024 alone, Ontario pulled in $40 billion in foreign investment, generating 25,000 new jobs. Over 4.5 years, the province secured $46 billion for vehicle manufacturing and EV battery production, including a $5 billion Stellantis plant in Windsor that would help cement Ontario's place as a North American manufacturing hub. Then came the rallying cry that shifted the room's energy.
Choices with President Trump: you roll over or you fight like we've never fought before. And I think all 41 million Canadians would rather fight like they've never fought before.
Ford's warning wasn't meant for Canadian audiences alone. It was crafted to echo across the border. He reminded Americans of Ronald Reagan's own stance against protectionism, saying bluntly that tariffs do not work. His logic was straightforward. They shrink competitiveness, push consumer prices higher, and ultimately harm the very workers they are supposed to protect. He didn't stop at theory. Ford pointed to hard numbers. The U.S. auto sector had already lost $6.5 billion in just the opening weeks of the tariff war. Corporate giants like Procter & Gamble, Mattel, and Walmart were feeling the sting, dealing with rising costs, supply chain bottlenecks, and shrinking profit margins. For Ontario, Ford's strategy was to turn a crisis into an opportunity. His government moved quickly to slash taxes, ramp up infrastructure spending, and roll out aggressive investment incentives. The goal was clear: attract more foreign companies, expand domestic manufacturing, and position Ontario as the top choice for global investors seeking stability in uncertain times. Globally, the tariffs were another sign of a shifting order. The U.S., once the champion of open trade, was increasingly isolating itself. As Washington raised barriers, other nations signed new trade deals, restructured supply chains, and in some cases, took steps toward reducing their dependence on the US dollar, quietly redrawing the global trade map. Trump's tariffs may have been aimed at economic leverage, but politically, they've done something unexpected. They've united Canadians. Across party lines, premiers, mayors, and even political rivals are speaking in one voice against the move. Ford framed this moment as more than just a trade dispute. It was about national resilience. He tied Ontario's fight to a bigger vision, dominating the EV battery supply chain, leading in nuclear energy innovation, and using Canada's critical minerals to fuel the industries of the future. And in perhaps his sharpest rebuke yet, Ford looked south and said,
My message to the Americans, this does not work. Tariffs do not work. I've been listening to Ronald Reagan a lot, and, tariffs.
Doug Ford may remain a polarizing figure in Canadian politics, but in Windsor, he crossed a line he had long avoided. On that stage, he abandoned caution, went off script, and openly challenged a sitting U.S. president, telling Canadians to prepare for a fight, not just to endure, but to prevail. This was more than an argument over tariffs. It was a declaration about identity, economic sovereignty, and the resolve to confront a powerful neighbor without hesitation. Ford framed it as a turning point, a moment when Canada would stop waiting for Washington's approval and start charting its own course. America wasn't pushing Canada out. Canada was preparing to build what it could no longer depend on. Is this how superpowers fade? Not with a crash, but as others rise to take their place? Share your thoughts in the comments, hit subscribe, and turn on the bell for more fearless deep dives. Stay with us as we track every twist in this high-stakes battle for economic power.